Okay, Pradeep. As I informed you earlier, today we are going to do two sessions. First session is allocated for circular motion questions. Then the second session we will start heat lesson. Therefore, today is the first day of our heat lesson. So that is our today's class content. So initially we will do some questions regarding circular motions. Okay. So those are the figures related to questions. So I will give you the questions first. Okay. Write down these questions, Putri. Make questions in again. Okay. First one. Related to this figure. Okay. ආලා ෆිගර් එක අඳින්න පොඩ්ඩක් ඉඳ තියාගෙන ඒ කියන්නේ ක්වෙස්චන් එක ලියලා ෆිගර් එක අඳින්න පොඩ්ඩක් ඉඳ තියාගන්න. හරි. ක්වෙස්චන් එක මොකද? First question. A weightless rod. A weightless rod. A weightless rod. A weightless rod of length 2L. A weightless rod of weight 2L carries 2 equal masses. 2 equal masses. 2 equal masses. Simple M. 2 equal masses. Simple M. 2 equal masses. Simple M, comma. One tied at the lower end A. One tied at the lower end A. One tied at the lower end A. Actually. And the other tied at middle of the rod B. Middle of the rod B. Okay, I will repeat the sentence again. A weightless rod of length 2L. Length 2L carries 2 equal masses. Simple M, comma. One tied at the lower end capital A. 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 one tied at the lower end, capital A, and the other at the middle of the rod, and the other at the middle of the rod, capital B, capital B. The rod can rotate, the rod can rotate, the rod can rotate. The rod can rotate in a vertical plane, in a vertical plane. The rod can rotate in a vertical plane about the fixed point C, about the fixed point C, about a fixed point C. The rod is released, the rod is released, the rod is released the rod is released from rest, from rest, the rod is released from rest in horizontal position, in horizontal position. The rod is released from rest in horizontal position. මේ අපේ පළවෙනි ගාන පුතේ දෙන්නේ ඒ නිසා පොඩ්ඩක් ඉඳ තියාගන්න එක ක්වෙස්චන් එකට දැන් අපු කට්ටිය මේ ක්වෙස්චන්ස් ටික ඉවර වෙලා මම ඒක අප්ලෝඩ් කරන්න කියනවා. හරි. The rod is released from rest in horizontal position. The speed of the mass B, the speed of the mass B the speed of, sorry, we're going to find the speed, okay? Find the speed of mass B, okay? The speed of me, find the speed of mass B, find the speed of mass B, find the speed of mass B. when the rod becomes vertical. When the rod becomes vertical. Find the speed of mass B when the rod becomes vertical. Okay. So you have to leave a space to draw this figure. Okay. So if you could not write the entire question, please leave a adequate space for it. Then write from the second question. ලියපු කවුරු හරි ඉන්නවා නම් ඒක අප්ලෝඩ් කරන්න පොඩ්ඩක් ක්වෙස්චන් අපේ group එකට අප්ලෝඩ් කරන්න පුතේ. මේ questions ඔක්කොම ලිව්වට පස්සේ සම්පූර්ණ ඔක්කොම questions ටික අප්ලෝඩ් කරන්න. හරි. Okay. Then the second question. Second question is related to this figure. Write the question. A small block slides with a velocity v naught, slide with a velocity v naught, that is equal 0. Slide with a velocity v naught is equal 0.5 square root gr. On a horizontal frictionless surface, on a horizontal frictionless surface, on a horizontal frictionless surface, as mentioned in the figure, the block leaves the surface. The block leaves the surface at point C. At point C. Find the value of theta. Find the value of theta. Find the value of theta. Okay, next question, put the third question. A ball of mass 1 kg. 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 Is tied to a string. Is tied to a string. A ball of mass 1 kg is tied to a string. 50 centimeter long. 50 centimeter long. Initially, the ball is kept. The ball is kept at a position, at a position, at a position, at a position, such that the string is horizontal, such that the string is horizontal. The ball is now released. The ball is now released. The ball is now released. A nail, a nail, a nail, capital L. A nail, a nail, capital N. A nail, capital N, is situated vertically below the center O. Vertically below the center O. Vertically below the center O. At a distance, capital L. At a distance, capital L. Find the minimum value of capital L. Find the minimum value of capital L Find the minimum value of capital L. So that the string will be wound. The string will be wound around the nail. Around the nail. Find the minimum value of capital L so that the string will be wound around the nail. Okay. Then the next question. You have to leave a space to draw this image, draw this figure. Then write question number 4. Write question number 4. A small block of mass, simple M. A small block of mass, simple M. A small block of mass, simple M. It starts from rest. It starts from rest. It starts from rest. It starts from rest. From point A. From point A. It starts from rest from point A. At a height 4 meter. At a height 4 meter. The radius of circle is 1 meter. The radius of initial circle. The radius of initial circle is 1 meter. The radius of initial circle is 1 meter. Sorry, Bhuti. The radius of initial circle, the radius of circular path to that. Circular path means this one. 1 meter. The radius of circular path is 1 meter. That means this part, meter. The radius of circular path is 1 meter. The block slide down. The block slide downs. The block slides down on a smooth circular path and reach at reach reach at point B. The block slides down on a smooth circular path and reads at point B. Find the ratio. Find the ratio find the ratio between the normal reaction and the weight. Find the ratio between the normal reaction and the weight at the point B. At the point B. Find the ratio between the normal reaction and the weight at the point B. Question number 5. Question number 5. A hollow cylinder, of radius 10 centimeter. A hollow cylinder of radius, say 10 centimeter, rotates about its vertical axis. Rotates about its vertical axis. A small body, a small body, a small body, a small body remains in contact, a small body remains in contact with the inner wall, with the inner wall, if the frequency of rotation is, if the frequency of rotation, if the frequency of rotation is 200 per minute, if the frequency of rotation is 200 per minute, but falls at lower frequencies, but falls at lower frequencies, but falls at lower frequencies. Find the coefficient of friction. Find the coefficient of friction. Find the coefficient of friction. Find the coefficient of friction between the inner wall, between the inner wall of the cylinder, between the inner wall of the cylinder, between the inner wall of the cylinder and the object, and the object. Okay. Then the last question, question number 6. Question number 6. මේ questions එක දීලා ඉවරනට පස්සේ පුතේ මේ මට පොඩ්ඩක් ෆොටෝ එකක් දාන්න group එකට ලියාගෙන බැරිච්ච කට්ටියට. Question number 6. A small body, a small body, a small body slides down, slides down a small body slides down a frictionless track, a frictionless track after being released from rest, after being released from rest. After being released from rest from a height, simple H. After being released from rest from a height, simple H. From a height, simple H. The track ends in a circular track. The track ends in a circular loop. The track ends in a circular loop. The track ends in a circular loop. The track ends in a circular loop of a diameter, simple D, of a diameter capital D, of a diameter capital D. Capital D in a vertical plane, in the vertical plane. The body remains in contact. The body remains in contact. The body remains in contact the body remains in contact with the loop, with the loop as it moves along it. 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 Find the minimum value of D. Find the minimum value of H. Find the minimum value of H in terms of D. Find the minimum value of H. Find the minimum value of H in terms of D. In terms of D. In terms of D. So those are some standard questions types for them. Those are some standard questions types which can be asked in our exam. Therefore, we have to practice how to do those questions. And remember, those kind of questions can be in your MCQ paper. Okay, can be in MCQ paper. Therefore, as you are given this question as essay questions today, actually you can do those questions treating them as MCQ. Therefore, remember this kind of questions can be in your MCQ paper. So those are very hard questions, but you have to go through the basic concepts and which we learned in previous lessons. Then you can do those questions within very short methods for it. And නිසා පොඩ්ඩක් දඟලන්න ඕනේ නැහැ, බොහොම ලේසියෙන් හදන්න පුළුවන්. So no need to write everything. You can treat them as MCQ questions and do the questions very quickly. හරිද? හරි. මේ questions ටික ලියාගත්ත මට පොඩ්ඩක් මේ ෆොටෝ එකක් දාන්න ගෲප් එකට ගායන්න පුළුවන් නම් ෆොටෝ එකක් දාන්න පුතේ ගෲප් එකට ඒ ෆොටෝ මේ බලන්න ඒ ක්වෙස්චන් එකට related figures ටික තමයි පුතේ මේ තියෙන්නේ. So this question this image is related to question number 1, question number 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Therefore you have to draw them then we can do the question. Then you can do the question. Please do them very quickly. Then we have to learn some theory part. After that, you will be given EQR. EQR means exam questions, reviewing question, exam questions, reviewing paper for circular motion. අද අපි ඒකත් ඕගොල්ලන්ට දෙනවා. මේ ටික කතා කරලා පස්සේ මේ ටික කතා කරලා මේ questions හදාන්න පුරුදු වුණාට පස්සේ මෙතෙක් කල් ආපු 1980 1980 or 82 වලට එතන ඉඳන් මෙතෙක් කල් ආපු අපි questions ටික අද අපි කතා කරමු. අපි මේක ටක් ගාලා කරන්න. මේක ටක් ගාලා කරන්න. මොකද මට ඒකටත් time එකක් දෙන්න ඕනේ. හරි. හරි. මේක තමයි අපේ first ආසරක් මම කියන්න පොඩ්ඩක් මතක් කරගන්න හැමෝම මේක තමයි අපේ first session එක. First session we will do circular motions, questions as well as EQR. Then after that our new lesson heat will be started in our second session today. Okay. 8 වලට අලුත් පොතක් ගිහින් questions ටික group එකට දාන්න පුතේ. ගහන්න පුළුවන් නම් දාන්න. හරි පුතේ. Finish. Finish. मैं कंप्लीट कर पाया तो सर संपूर्ण संपूर्ण में कंप्लीट कर पाया तो सर को කට්ටිය කියමු බලන්න ඉන්න මම කියවෙන ක්වෙස්චන් එක හදන්න කියලා. පළවෙනි ක්වෙස්චන් හතර වෙලා කට්ටිය. ක්වෙස්චන් හතරක් කියලා කට්ටිය. හතරක් ඉවර කරගන්න. පළවෙනි ක්වෙස්චන් එක පළවෙනි ක්වෙස්චන්. ඕවනේ. I need responses. ටක් ගාලා 5 minutes දෙන්න මේක නම් ඇත්තටම මේ questions හයටම maximum 5 minutes 6 minutes එකට 1 minute දාන්න. මේවා MCQ questions ඉදින් දෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒවා මම ඒකයි කියන්නේ. ඔගොල්ලෝ හිතන විදිහ වෙනස් කරන්න. මම දැන් මේ මම කරනවා දැන් මේක MCQ type එකෙන් මම කරනවා. ඊට පස්සේ කතා කරනවා මේ හිතන විදිය පොඩ්ඩක් වෙනස් කරන්න. හිතන විදිය පොඩ්ඩක් වෙනස් කරන්න බොහොම ලීසියෙන් හදන්න පුළුවන්. හරි. ඔයාලට මේ ඔක්කොට මේයි වුණා ඇත්තටම 6 minutes අය ඔක්කොට. මම පොඩ්ඩක් වැඩිපුර දුන්නේ පොඩ්ඩක් මේ බලන්න. Okay, Putih. We can start discussion. Okay. Everyone, stop the work. Active not enough. Put the board. If you did more all the 6 questions, please say that questions I am going to take my product here. Questions I am going to check this one. No. Andy, Nasit, Nasandu, Nanda, Shashindra, Linet, Nogadatte, Nasit. ये करा बोले हम क्यों नहीं क्वेश्चन है हाँ क्यों नहीं क्वेश्चन है देखिए पढ़ना पड़ा क्यों नहीं क्वेश्चन पे कौन है कि मैं गोलू 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 आ गई नहीं हैं गुड अनिता है गांधी रसल मैं क्यों नहीं क्वेश्चन की नहीं हम्म प्रश्न क्यों नहीं क्वेश्चन की बोलते बहुत था बहुत था डीनेट दामजी क्यों नहीं क्वेश्चन की शशिंद्र बहुत था शशिंद्र यासित टियर 4 था 5th था वेरी गुड ओके बारह ओके कट्टी दांत everyone please stop the work. Okay, look into the questions. Look into the board. Look into the board. So, what is the answer of first question? You ask the velocity, no? You ask the speed. You ask the speed in this object at this position. You ask the speed of this object. How to determine that thing? How to determine that thing? Call Hitwigan and question number 1. How to determine that thing? Sorry. Come on, Edwin. Hello, Kati. මම දැන් නිකන් යාර ගොළු මඩවට ගියා වගේ නේ. Okay, thank you පුතේ. කොහොමද මොලේ හැදුවේ? නැද්ද? කටවල්. නම ඕගොල්ලෝ කිව්වනේ 4 එකක් හැදුවා කියලා question number 4 නෑ හැදුවේ කියලා. එහෙනම් කොහොමද මේ question number first වෙන්නේ? Energy conservation. Energy conservation. Okay. Okay. Yes. Yes, you can do it from energy conservation. If you consider about this is the potential energy zero level, Then initially the object has the potential energy of mg into 2L, mg into 2L. Finally, it has only a velocity. That velocity should be equal square root 2gh. Square root 2gh. We know that thing. The speed is equal square root 2gh. Okay. Therefore, velocity at point A is equal to square root 2g. Actually, I have asked you to do those questions as MCQ. Okay. Therefore, no need to write everything. No need to write everything. Treat them as MCQs. Okay. Therefore, VA should be equal to square root 2gh. මේව දාන්නත් ඕනේ නැහැ. explain එක කෙලිම දාන්න. 2g, h means 2l. H means 2l puti. And then that means 4gl. That is the speed of sorry. අපේ ගහන්නේ ඒක නෙමෙයි නේද? The speed of B නේ යන්නේ. The speed of B යන්නේ. The speed of B යන්නේ. Right. අපිට එකපාර ගන්න පුළුවන් මේක එහෙම නෙමෙයි. අපිට එකපාර ගන්න පුළුවන්. Initially system has two masses. Therefore, it has a potential energy putte 2 times mgh. 2 times mgh. Therefore, mass is 2m. G. G means what you say? mgh. H means 2l. Then finally, you know, if this rod rotates about this axis, both omegas should be equal. Both omegas should be equal to it. But the velocity, so the velocity is speed. Tangential speed varies. But omega should be equal. And you know V is equal R omega. Therefore, you can consider V as R omega. Then finally, this object has a velocity VA. This object has a velocity VB. So this VB is equal L omega. This one should be equal to L omega. L omega and 2L omega. That is the speed. So finally, this is the potential energy of the system initial potential energy. Finally, it has a potential energy of this mass, and this mass, the potential energy in this mass is 0 because we have taken potential energy 0 level as this level. Therefore, potential energy of this mass is 0, but this mass has a potential energy of mgl. Plus half mvb squared. VB squared means, VB squared means square of this one. M L squared omega squared plus half. This has a kinetic energy only. This is a kinetic energy only. It is equal m 2 times L omega square. That means 4 L square omega square. M ඔක්කොම කැපිලා යනවා නේ. M to M to M to M will be cancelled out. 4GL මේ පැත්තට ගියා 3GL 3GL into 2 times means 6GL 6GL is equal here L omega squared 5L omega squared that 4L omega squared that means 5L squared omega squared 5L squared omega squared, therefore you can take omega from that will be cancelled out, therefore omega is equal 6G over 5L square root. 6G over 5L square root of 6G over 5L. This is omega. So if you know omega, then you can determine the velocity of B. Velocity of B. Therefore, velocity of B is equal L omega. Therefore, you have to multiply this value by L. So if you multiply this value by L, L to L will be cancelled out. Therefore, answer is 6GL over 5 is correct. 6GL. Is that clear? මේක තේරෙනවද තුස්සන්? මෙන්න මේ energy conservation law එක දාපු හැටි තියෙනවද? This is the energy conservation law. If you got this answer, please raise the hand. मैं answer ගත්ත කට්ටිය තුස්සන්? मैं answer ගත්ත කට්ටිය? Very good, buddy. So you have to consider the energy of both object, energy of the system. එකක් විතර ගන්න බෑ. Initially both object had a potential energy. Therefore, mass is 2m, height is 2l. 2l, height is 2l. Finally, this object has a velocity only. Potential energy is 0. This object has a potential energy as well as kinetic energy. If you can say about this object, potential energy is mgl, kinetic energy is half m v square. Instead of v square, I can write it as L omega, L into omega. L into omega. Therefore, v is equal L square omega square. Now I am going to determine omega because you know omega for both objects is equal. Therefore, if you determine omega, then easily you can determine v. එහෙම නැත්නම් V අතර රිලේෂන්ෂිප් එකක් ගන්නත් පුළුවන්. මෙතන V ගත්තොත් මෙතන 2V එක. එහෙම ගන්නත් පුළුවන්. කොන්සෙප්ට් ගන්නත් පුළුවන්. අයි V ඔමේගා ඉක්වල් නේ පුතේ. ඔමේගා ඉක්වල් මෙතන රේඩියස් එක තමයි 2 times එක. රේඩියස් එක තමයි 2 times එක. එහෙනම් velocity අනිවාර්යෙන් 2 times වෙන්නේ. velocity කියන්නේ tangential velocity 2 times වෙන්නේ බෑ. So therefore, if you consider about speed, if this speed is v, this speed definitely should be 2v. Definitely should be 2v. Therefore, if you want to write this equation using linear velocities, then you can write that. එහෙම ලියන්නත් පුළුවන්. මෙතන v දැම්මොත් මෙතන 2v දාන්න. එතකොට ආයෙ ඔමේගා හොයන්න දෙයක් නැහැ එකපාරට. Okay. The second question. How to take theta? Second question, how to take theta? Second question. You know cos theta. Cos theta is equal u squared plus 2gr over 3gr. 3gr cos theta. As I told you earlier, treat this question as MCQs. No need to write everything. Treat them as MCQs. Therefore, cos theta should be equal u squared plus 2gr over 3gr, because now this object has a velocity at this position. At this the velocity at this position, the velocity is equal to this one. Well, this object has a velocity at this position, and that velocity is equal to this value. Therefore, when the ball leaves from the surface, this angle should be equal. Cos value of this angle should be equal u squared plus 2gr over 3gr. We have proven this value. Therefore, just apply the answer. Just apply the value. And මේක MCQ එකක් කියලා හිතන්නේ. essay එකක් නම් එහෙම කරන්න බෑ. essay එකක් නම් ආවම මුලින් හදන්න ඕනේ. හරිද? මම මේ ඔයගොල්ලන්ට කියන්න පුළුවන් තරම් short method ටිකක් මම උගන්වන්න හදන්නේ. ඇයි ඒ? මොකද මේ වගේ questions එන්නේ MCQ වලට. හරිද? ඒක නිසා තමයි මම මේ පුළුවන් තරම් short methods ටික මම ඔයගොල්ලන්ට කියලා දෙන්නේ. හරි? u squared කියලා කියන්නේ square of this one. That means 0.25 gr. 0.25 gr plus 2 gr means 2.25 gr over 3 gr. Therefore, this one will be cancelled out. 300 over 2.25. 2.25 then අපිට මේක විතරනේ පුතේ 15 විදුත් තියෙන 15 over 20. 15 over 20 means 304. 75 वली better. 75. 304. Therefore, answer is cos inverse 304. Cos inverse 304. If you got this answer, please raise the hand. If you got this answer, please raise the hand. මේ answer ගත්ත නම් තුස්සන. තේරුන්නේ නැද්ද අර කොයිද? හරි. Okay, බලමු පුතේ. Shall I erase this one? The previous one? Question number 1. Shall I erase question number 1? Thank you. Everyone, please listen to me. කට්ටිය බලාගන්න දැන් මම මේ කතා කරන්නේ ආයි. short කියන්නේ short කට්ටියක් මම මේ කතා කරන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ circular motion එකේ ඇති දෙයක් ඇත්තේම නැහැ. circular motion MCQ question එකක් આવොත් කොහොමද කරන්න කියලා මම train කරන්න ඕගොල්ලන්ට. මොකද මේ training එකෙන් පස්සේ මම ඕගොල්ලන්ට දෙනවා exam questions ටික. ඒ exam questions ටික වේගෙන් හදන්න තමයි මම train කරන්නේ. මම ඒකයි ඕගොල්ලන්ට කිව්වේ මේක essay questions කියලා හිතන්න එපා පුතේ. MCQ කියලා හිතලා හදන්න. MCQ නම් ආ කොහොමද හදන්නේ? ඒකයි මම හදන්න කිව්වේ. මොකද දැන් මේක ට්‍රේනින් එකක්. මේ ට්‍රේනින් එක දෙන්නේ SR ප්‍රෙෂර්ස් එක කරන්න. හරි? හරි. Okay, you know, listen to me. Everyone, please listen to me. කට්ටිය බලාගන්න. Now this object moves in a horizontal path and enters to a circular path. Now this is a circular path and this object moves on this circular path, on this circular path. Therefore, this is similar to movement of a object on a hemisphere or spherical surface. Spherical surface. So if any object moves in a spherical surface, definitely it will leave from the surface when the vertical angle is equal to u squared plus 2gr over 3gr. If the initial speed is 0, this part is 0, then 2gr over 3gr, that means gr to gr will be cancelled out, then cos theta should be equal 2 over 3. That happens when u is equal 0. But if there is a velocity, initial velocity, definitely you have to consider that thing. Okay. I'm not going to prove this equation again because we have done that one. Do you remember this equation? My equation is මතක නැතුව මම ආයෙ පාරක් මේක ප්‍රූව් කරන්න යන්න ඕනේ. ගිය පාර කරානේ පුතානේ. කාලකණ එකක් වැඩක් ඒක. හරි. තේරෙනවද? මේ equation එක මතක නැතුව නැත්නම් ටක් ගාලා බලාගන්න අපේ note එක තියෙනවා. ඕන මතක නැද්ද? Okay. note එකේ තියෙන අවශ්‍ය නැ බලාගන්න පුළුවන්. අලුත් එකක් ළමයිට මම පොඩ්ඩක් කියන්න පුතේ දරුවන්ට ආයි waves note එක ඕගොල්ලන්ට ගොඩක් වෙලාවට next week අන්තිම වගේ අපිට මට පෝස්ට් කරන්න පුළුවන් ඒත් එක්ක පරණ ටියුට් ටික මම පෝස්ට් කරනවා හරිද මේ එතකොට මේ පරණ ටියුට් ටික හම්බ වෙයි හරි පරණ ටියුට් ටික හම්බ වෙයි මම ආයෙසරක් එක පෝස්ට් කරේ නැත්නම් අර ඔක්කොම එකපාරට ඉවන්න පුළුවන් නිසා හරි okay පුතේ now you know this is the angle when this object leaves the circular path puti. Therefore you are asked that angle puti. So you have to just apply the value. As this horizontal surface is a smooth surface, the velocity will not be changed. Therefore velocity at this position should be equal to the velocity at this position because this is a smooth surface. Okay. Therefore, velocity at point B is equal 0.5 square root gr. Therefore, u squared is equal to square of this one. That means 0.25 gr. 0.25 gr. U squared is equal 0.25 gr plus 2 gr. 0.25 gr plus gr means 2.25 gr over 3 gr. මේකට මේක කැපෙනවා ඉතින් පුතේ මේකට බෙදාගන්න තියෙන්නේ නේද? 0.75 වලින් බෙදනවා. නේද? This one is equal 3 over 4. Therefore theta is equal cos inverse 3 over 4. මම ඒකනේ කිව්වේ මේක හදන්න විනාඩියක්වත් යන්නේ නැහැ කියලා question එකද? මේ question එක හදන්න විනාඩියක්වත් යන්නේ නැහැ කිව්වේ එන්නේ ඒක. මට මේ මතක තියාගන්න හොඳට මතක තියාගන්න. You have to practice those short methods. Otherwise, Pute, you cannot save your time. You cannot save your time. Sometimes you may know all the things related to the theory part, but you cannot do the questions within 2 minutes. That is not your problem. That is not your problem with your theory. You have good theory knowledge, but you did not try to do the questions using short methods. That is the problem. You have not practiced. You have not practiced short methods. That is a must for you. Like අනිවාර්යෙන් කරනවා. ඔයාලා physics MCQ question physics MCQ එකට හුරු වෙනවා. ඔයාලට ඕන නම් physics MCQ එක 2 hours within 2 hours වලින් කරන්න short methods use කරන්න ඕනි. ෂෝට්ස් මෙතඩ් වලින් හිතන්න ඕනේ අපේ thinking pattern එක වෙනස් කරන්න ඕනේ. අපි thinking pattern එක වෙනස් කරන්නේ නැතුව short methods වලින් හිතන්න නැතුව මේ වැඩේ කරන්න බෑ. මම ඒකයි කිව්වේ මම දැන් ට්‍රේන් කරන්නේ ඒකයි. මම ඔය එකින් එක අපි කතා කරා මම නිව්ටන්ස් ලෝ අපි නිව්ටන්ස් ලෝ වලින් කලින් ඉඳන් ඒ එක එක short methods මම දුන්නා කොහොමද අපි කතා කරන්නේ කියලා. හරි මේ අපි ඔක්කොම කම්බයින් කරලා අපි වෙබ් ක්ලාස් එකයි අයයි කතා කරමු. මේ හැබැයි මතක තියාගන්න අපි මේක ප්‍රැක්ටිස් කරනවා. මම මේක කොච්චර කියා දුන්නත් වැඩක් නැහැ. ඔයාලා ප්‍රැක්ටිස් කරන්නේ නැත්තම්. You have to practice this thing. හොඳට මතක තියාගන්න මම මේ කියා දෙන එක වැඩක් නැහැ. ඔයා ප්‍රැක්ටිස් කරන්නේ නැත්තම්. ආයෙසරක් මම කියා දුන්නට පස්සේ ආයෙ පාරක් ඔයා ඊළඟ ක්වෙස්චන් එකට යන්නේ අර ඔයා කලින් කරපු ලෝන් මෙතඩ් එකට නම් වැඩක් නැහැ. Okay. Now I have taught you a short method for question number 2. Okay. Have. Now, can we do the question number 4 and 6? Question number 4 and question number 6. Question number 4 and question number 6 within very, very few seconds. Can you do? Thank God. And also question number 3. And also question number 3. And come on, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3, 4, 5, 6. Now there are 4 questions. Now there are 4 questions. Now I have discussed 2 questions today using very short methods. Now please think like this. Mummy, හිතපු විදිහට ටක් ගාලා මේ questions හතර ගන්න. දැන් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට ප්‍රැක්ටිස් කරනවා මම මේ. ඔයගොල්ලන්ට ප්‍රැක්ටිස් කරනවා. questions හතරයි දැන් කීයද වෙලාව? Okay. 3:25 3:30 වෙනකොට ඉවර කරන්න. 3:30 වෙනකොට 3:30 වෙනකොට questions හතරයි මම වැඩිපුර මම මේ 1 minute දුන්නා. Okay, shall we discuss? Okay, question number 3. Everyone, look in the board. If you did all 6 questions, please raise the hand. If you did all the 6 questions, please raise the hand. Questions hand karana to something. Very good, very good, very good. Very good, Shashin. Shashin. Sorry. Okay, okay. Anita? Good. That's it. Very good. Okay. Okay. Now, please look into question number 3. Please look into question number 3. Now, that's the object at this position, and this object rotates about this circular path like this, and once the string become vertical, what will happen? Now there's a small notch. Notch means a small nail. So what will happen? This object will wound around that nail. Now you are asked to determine minimum velocity. Now, minimum value of L. You are asked to define minimum value of L to complete a full circle. To complete a full circle means actually to complete full rotation of this object around this nail. So this is the initial circular path. After that, this circular path will convert into another circular like this. Suppose this is R, then this part also R. Now this is a circular path. So you are asked to determine the minimum L value for it to complete a full circle about capital A. And that is your question. You know this thing. If this object completes a full circle about this capital N center, definitely it should have a velocity at the bottom which is equal 5gr. Otherwise, it cannot be complete a full circle. Then, you know, now this object is at this position and comes to this position. Initially, this object has a potential energy only. Now it has a kinetic energy only. Okay? If this is potential energy 0 level, initially this object has a potential energy only. Now it has a kinetic energy only. Therefore, the velocity at this position should be equal to square root 2gh. Okay? H is equal 15. And H is equal 15. And this is equal to square root 2gh. And is that clear? Because square root 2gh should be equal 5gr. Square root 2gh equal 5gr. Is that clear? Therefore, velocity at this position should be equal to gh. And that 2gh should be equal 5gr to complete a full circle. Therefore, definitely 2 into g will be cancelled out. No need to write it down again. H means this height, that means 15 centimeter, should be equal 5 g will be cancelled out 5r. 5 into r, r means L minus 15 minus L. 15 minus L. Because you need to determine L. This one will be cancelled out to 3. Therefore, L is 9 centimeter. You need to write only 2 steps. Within these 2 steps, you get the answer. මම මේ කරපු ස්ටෙප්ස් දෙක තේරුණා නම් තුස්සන් මම ආයෙ කියා දෙනවා තේරුම් නැත්නම් මම ආයෙ කියා දෙනවා හැබැයි මීට වඩා දිග ක්‍රමයක් නම් මම කියා දෙන්නේ නැහැ මේ ක්‍රමෙන් මම ආයෙ කියා දෙන්නම් හැබැයි මීට වඩා දිග ක්‍රම කියා දෙන්නේ නැහැ හේතුව මේක MCQ question එක මේක MCQ question එකද තමයි හිතන්නේ ඈ okay thank you if you have any questions please let me know පුතේ okay I will explain it I will explain it again මම ආයෙ පාරක් කියන්නේ please listen to me very carefully හරිද okay you know now we are asked to determine the minimum value of L to complete a full circle. So you know to complete a full circle, definitely the velocity at the bottom position. The velocity at the bottom position should be equal 5 gr. Is that okay? We have done that thing in our last session. To complete a full to complete a full circle, the minimum speed required at the bottommost position should be equal is square root 5gr. Do you remember that thing? ඒක මතකද? හරි. එනගේ පැත්තකින් තියාගන්න. ඒක පැත්තකින් තියාගෙන එහෙනම් මේ velocity ඕනි මේ object එකට මේක මෙතනට යන්න. හරිද? දැන් බලන්න. Now this object was at this position පුතේ. And now, after releasing it from rest, it comes to this position. Therefore, initially it had only a potential energy. Now, the entire potential energy is converted into a kinetic energy. Therefore, velocity at this position should be equal to gh. ඒක මේ මොකක්ද? Energy conservation law එක. is equal to gh. I make a mgh is equal half mv square. M to mv will be cancelled out. V is equal square root 2h. එහෙනම් මේක තමයි මෙතනදී මෙතන තියෙන velocity. එහෙනම් මේ velocity එක මෙන්න මේ velocity ඒ කියන්නේ මේ required velocity equal වෙනවා. So this is the velocity at this position. Therefore, this velocity should be equal to the minimum requirement, which is 5gr. Therefore, 2gh should be equal 5gr. You don't want to consider about square root as well as you don't want to consider about g. Just consider 2h into 5r. 2h means this height. This height should be equal to 15 centimeter. So this is the full length of the string. Therefore, 2 into 15 centimeter is equal 5 into r. You don't want to consider r because you are asked to determine L. Therefore, L is equal 15 minus r. The full length is 15. If you subtract 15 by r, you will have it 15 minus r. Is that clear? ඒක තේරුණා නේද උස්ස? හරිද තහම්බි? මම මේ පැහැදිලිව මම ආයෙ පාරක් මේ කියන්නේ මම ඕගොල්ලන්ව මේ ට්‍රේන් කරන්නේ MCQ paper එක කරන්න MCQ paper එක කරන්න. මොකද මේ ඩිස්කෂන් එකෙන් පස්සේ ඕගොල්ලන්ට මම EQR එක ඉෂුව කරනවා. EQR එක කරන්න නොලෙන්ජ් එක තමයි මම මේ දෙන්නේ. හරි. මොකද නැත්තම් ඊට පස්සේ ඕගොල්ලෝ එතනදි හිර වෙනවා. අයියෝ. You can write down. You can write down. මේ දාන්න ගන්න. Hello. Now question number 4. Question number 4. What is the answer? Question number 4 के answer මොකක්ද ගත්තේ? Question number 4, what is the answer? Shashindu? Shashmindu? Shashmindu? Hello. Lasit? Gandhi? Yasabi? Okay. Shall we do? You are asked to determine now there's an object like this, Pute. This object released from this position. So this is a circular path. And the diameter is diameter. So radius. Okay. Radius of this part is 2 meter. That means diameter is equal 2 meter. 2 meter. Radius is 1 meter. Now this object moves from here to here and comes to this position. Comes to this position. Then you are asked to determine the ratio between normal reaction and weight. Normal reaction and weight. පුතේ මෙතන ඔයාලා මේ තේරුම් ගන්න මෙතන just release just reach කියලා just reach නැත්නම් මේ පන්නන්න යන්නත් පුළුවන් එහෙම නෙවෙයි මේක යන්තම් reach වුණා කියලා හිතන්න ඒක දාගන්න just reach. Okay, then you know what is the value of this reaction force. What is the value of this? Actually, now you can treat this one as object attached to a string. Suppose this is a hollow sphere. So if any object moves within hollow sphere, if any object moves within a hollow sphere, now there's a reaction force. There's a reaction force. Actually, this motion exactly equal to the motion of an object which is attached to a string. If you rotate an object, attached to a string, instead of reaction force, there's a tension force. The only change is the type of force. Force type the direction and all the other things are all same. Therefore, motion of an object inside the circular path is equivalent to the motion of an object which is attached to a string. Both are same equivalent motions. The only difference is the type of force exerted on the object. The type of force only. And here there's tension force, here there's a reaction force. Direction and all the things are same. Okay. Reduct විතරයි දාන්න තියෙන්නේ. වෙන කිසිම දෙයක් නැහැ. හරිද? එහෙනම් පුතේ බලන්න. You know what is the tension force when the object just reach the topmost position, the tension force. Now here the reaction force should be equal 6 mg. 6 mg, we have done that. 6 mg. Therefore, reaction force is equal 6 mg. 6 mg. 6 mg. මතකද ඒක? ආයෙ ලියන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. A small sorry, Araduna. 6 mg නෙවෙයි 6 mg ගන්න මෙතන තියෙන reaction එක. Sorry. 6 mg නෙවෙයි. අපිට ඒක හොයන්න වෙනවා. Okay. එහෙනම් මෙතන just ගන්න බෑ පුතේ. just ගන්න බෑ නිකන් කියන්නේ. මෙයාට ස්පීඩ් එකක් තියෙනවා මෙතන. මේ just આવුත් මේක reaction force එක 0 වෙන තැනක් නෙන්නේ. just ගන්න බෑ මෙතන මේ කලින් තිබ්බ එක හරියි. කලින් තිබ්බ මේ word එක හරියි. ඒක just reach එකක් නෙවෙයි වෙන්නේ reach වෙනවා. එහෙනම් එතකොට ඔයාලට මෙතනදී consider කරන්න වෙනවා velocity. consider කරන්න වෙනවා velocity. හරි. velocity consider කරන්න වෙනවා. Okay. Okay, now you can consider the velocity at this position. Velocity of this position. Okay? So you know if you apply F equal ma to the bottom side or center, now the total force is equal reaction force plus mg. Reaction force plus mg, that is the total force exerted on this object. Therefore, reaction force that also into the downward direction and mg also into the downward direction plus mg. This is F equal ma. M is v squared over r is 1. R is equal 1. Right. Then you just need to determine v square. How to determine v square? Using energy conservation. Using energy conservation. So now this value is 2 there. Therefore, initially the object was at this position, now the object is at this position. Therefore, if you consider about this position is potential energy 0 level, you have to apply square root 2gr. Square root 2gr. Square root 2gr. Then the height is 2. Height is 2. Therefore, v square should be equal r plus mg m. V square is equal 4gr. 4gr square 4gr. 4gr. මේ පැත්තට ගියා පුතේ 3යි. Therefore, r over mg is equal 3. R over mg is equal 3. Is that clear? Okay. I have taken potential energy 0 level at this position. Potential energy 0 level at this position. Now height is 2. Therefore, if you apply energy conservation, initially there was only a potential energy. Now there is only a kinetic energy. Initially there is only a potential energy. Now there is only a kinetic energy. Therefore, the velocity should be equal square root 2gh. Square root 2gh. Square root 2gh. You know that thing. Therefore, h is equal to 2. Therefore, square root 2gh is equal 4g. 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 That's why I for social 4g 4g. 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 square root 4. And I make a v squared, v के लिए क्या पता है v is equal square root 2gh. Square root 2gh. Now instead of h, you can write 2. You can write 2. Therefore, v is equal 4g. V squared is equal in 4g2. So that is equal r plus mg. R plus mg. If you got my calculation, please raise the hand. තේරෙනවද උස්සා? මම මේ හදපු විදිය තේරෙනවද උස්සා? හදපු සෙෂන් ගානද? රසදිත් තේරෙනවද? දිනෙත් thank you. Thank you very good. මම ආසරක් කියන මම ආයෙ පාරක් මීට වඩා අඩු ක්‍රමයක් මම කියා දෙන්නේ නැහැ. මීට වඩා ලේසි ක්‍රමයක් මම කියා දෙන්නේ නැහැ. මීට වඩා ලේසි ක්‍රමයක් sorry මීට වඩා දිග ක්‍රමයක් නේ. මීට වඩා ලෝන් මෙතඩ් එකක් මම කියා දෙන්නේ නැහැ. පුළුවන් තරම් ෂෝට් මෙතඩ් එකක් තමයි කියා දෙන්නේ. කියා දුන්නා. මේක ආයෙසරක් කියා දෙන්න ඕන. මම ආයෙ පාරක් මේ කියන්නේ. හරි. මම ආයෙ පාරක් මේ කියලා මම ආයෙ පාරක් මේ කියන්නේ ඕගොල්ලෝ මම මේක කරන්නේ මොකද? MCQ වලට. MCQ. ටක් හරි. Shall I erase? Shall I erase? Okay, we can do this question number 6 in this method also. Here, Pute, now there's a ball here. There's a ball here. Now this ball is released from rest at a height of h. Now this ball completes a full circle. Completes a full circle. Okay. So if it is complete a full circle, you are the minimum value. Minimum value. No. Yeah, minimum value. Minimum value h. Minimum value of h in terms of d. In terms of d. So okay, now tell me how to do this question. මම මේ වගේ question එකක් කලින් කරා. Now tell me how to do this question. ටක් ගාලා කියන්න. මට mic එක unmute කරලා කියන්න පුළුවන් නම් වඩා හොඳයි. මම මාරයි මේක ඇත්තටම appreciate කරනවා mic unmute කරලා කියන්න පුළුවන් නම් because we have discussed this type of questions previously, so you have to apply that knowledge only. ටක් ගාලා කියන්න පුළුවන්. Boleh. Kawan type hari kawan. Shashmida, Shashimja, what are your answers? Course वगैरह complete करना ना बहुत देर नो टक का हिता है course वगैरह complete करना टक का बहुत देर नो ये लगे थे नसीब
Well, at the bottom should be root
sorry
5.
wait I have to increase the volume wait yes Gandhi telling
Velocity at the bottom should be root 5gr.
yes very good the velocity at the bottom should be root 5 gr then how to combine or how to build a relationship yes that is the argument
By energy conservation.
yes you know using the energy conservation velocity at this position should be equal 2gh square root 2gh and that should be equal to 5gr it should be equal to 5gr therefore 2gh don't write square root is equal 5 gr means do2 r means do2 එච්චරයි එච්චරයි you will be cancel out එච්චරයි therefore h is equal 5 over 4 into the 5 over 4 into the හරිද ඔබ හිතන්න යන්න බැද්ද මේක හිතන්න යන්න පුළුවන් දැන් හරියට දන්නවා if you got my calculation please trace that මම කියපු දේ තේරෙනවද තුස්සන් මේවට equation ලියනවා කියලා කියන්නේ ජාතික අපරාධ මේවට equation ලියලියා කරනවා කියන ජාතික අපරාධ ඒ කියන්නේ එහෙම කෙනෙක් අනිවාර්යෙන් තමයි කියන්නේ physics paper එක හරියට වෙලාවට complete කරගන්න බෑ ඒ වගේ කෙනෙක්ට ඇත්ත කතාන්දරේ ඒකයි මම මේ පුළුවන් තරම් ට්‍රේන් කරවන්න ඕගොල්ලන්ව පුළුවන් තරම් මේක ඕගොල්ලෝ තනියම කරන්න ඕන එහෙමම කරන්න බෑ දැන් මම මේක කියලා දුන්නා කියලා වැඩක් නැහැ ඔයාලා මේක ප්‍රැක්ටිස් කරන්න දැන් ඔයාලා ඊළඟ ක්වෙස්චන් එකට ආයි මේක මේ විදිහට මම දාන්නේ කරන්න එපා මම ඒක ඕගොල්ලන්ට මේ ක්වෙස්චන් බැංක් sorry මේ objective physics පොත objective physics පොතේ ඒ එන MCQ questions එකක් තියෙනවා බලන්න ගොඩාක් මේ වගේ MCQs තියෙනවා හරි බලන්න try කරන්න ඒක අනිවාර්යෙන් try කරන්න try කරන්න මේක try කරන්න මේ මොනවද එතකොට ඔයගොල්ලෝගේ ස්පීඩ් එක හැදෙනවා objective physics පොතේ PDF එක ඕන නම් මට කියන්න මම ඒවල තියෙන අලුත් ළමයිට හම්බෙන්නේ නැතු වෙද සමහර වෙලාවට ඕන නම් මට කියන්න මම ඇස්සලක් එවන්නම් ඕනනම් කියලා කියන මම කරක් කියන්න නැත්නම් බෑනේ හරි මට පොඩ්ඩක් මතක් කරන්න අද ඊළඟට බලන්න පුතේ ඊළඟ ක්වෙස්චන් එක මේකේ තියෙන්නේ uh, 10 centimeter frequency frequency of rotation to okay so sorry now this is the normal reaction and this one is the friction force here mg here mg What is mu? Mu කොහොමද අපි එළුවේ? Mu is equal. So you know now this object is in vertical equilibrium condition. This object is equal vertical equilibrium condition. Vertical equilibrium condition. Therefore, F is equal mg. F is equal mg, and R is equal m r omega square. मतलब omega वाली नहीं दी होती. Omega वाली दी होती है नहीं. Omega. Sorry, frequency दी होती नहीं. Frequency है कि omega करने के लिए इसी. हाँ. එහෙනම් මට ලියන්න පුළුවන් බලන්න පුතේ F is equal mg. F is equal friction force should be equal to mg, and R is the centripetal force. Centripetal force should be equal mr omega square. R is equal mr omega square. So when the frequency is equal to 200, when the frequency is to 200, this object is in limiting condition. Therefore, F should be equal mu R. F should be equal mu R. F means mg is equal mu. R means m r omega square. This is the only equation. And m r omega square, m to m will be cancelled out. Therefore, mu should be equal 10 divided by radius 10 centimeter. 10 centimeter means 10 into 10 to the power minus 2 omega squared. Omega squared means 25f. 25f squared. 25f squared. What calculation number? Here I make it. Picture I think if we are in 200 per minute. 200 per minute per second කරගන්න වෙනවා. 10 to 10 will be cancelled out. Make it 100 divided by 5 square. 5 square means approximately it is equal to 10. Then F is square. F means 200 per minute. 200 per minute. That means 200 divided by 60. That means 20 divided by 6 is square. Make a simplification. 100 into 36 divided by 40 into 400. This one will be cancelled out. This one is 9. Okay. 0.9 divided by 4. That means 0.225. 0.225. Calculation so this is friction force. The friction force is equal mg. Now this is the limiting condition. Friction force is equal mu r. R means that the centripetal force is equal mr omega squared. Mr omega squared. Therefore, within one step you can get the relationship. Okay. Is that clear? If it is clear, please raise the hand. Tusan. Hadi. Şaşmida. Okay. Okay, I will explain again. You know, now this object is in this condition. This object is not moving in vertical plane. It has a vertical equilibrium. It is not sliding down. Therefore, it has a vertical equilibrium. Therefore, friction force should be equal mg. Friction force should be equal mg. Is that clear? Friction force F is equal mg. F is equal mg. Is that clear, Pudit? Friction force is equal mg. Now you know this is in limiting condition because once the frequency decreases, this object will fall down. Therefore, this is in limiting condition. Therefore, those frequency should be equal mu r. Mu r. Therefore, this frequency, friction force. This friction force should be equal mu r. Therefore, friction force is equal mg. Mg is equal mu r. That means mg is equal mu r. Now, how to determine r? R means this one. So, this is the force. This is the centripetal force of this object. This is centripetal force of this object. So, centripetal force is equal m v squared over r-o m r omega squared. Therefore, r is equal m r omega squared. Friction force F is equal mu r. F is equal mg. Here mu r is equal the centripetal force. Is that clear? My කවචන කතා ඉල්ලුවේ නැත්නම් ආසනක් ඔයගොල්ලෝ ලියා ගන්න. මට ඕනේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ ඔළුවෙන් එන්න. Okay. Then I had a topic. This is a theory topic. I think we have done this thing. මේක අපි කලින් කරා මේ initial and non-initial frames කරා නේද පුතේ? අර forces mark කරන එක initial and non-initial frames වල forces mark කරන එක කරා නේද අපි?
Yes, sir.
කරා නේ? ආය පාරක් මම මේක මෙතනට කරනවා මොකද මේකේ non-initial frames ටිකක් එනවා මේ circular motions වල. ඒ නිසා ඒක අපි පොඩ්ඩක් මෙතනදී ආය පාර පොඩ්ඩක් discuss කරමු. Marking the forces. Marking the forces exerted on an object. Marking the forces exerted on an object relative to an inertial and non-inertial frames. Relative to an inertial and non-inertial frames. Marking the forces exerted on an object relative to an inertial and non-inertial frames. Okay, I will do this one quickly because we have discussed that thing in Newton's law, but the application is most commonly we can actually that is most common for circular motions. Look at this one. So suppose there's a bin. There's a bin. Now here there's a vehicle. Now this vehicle is taking this bin. Okay. So suppose you are in the car and you are in the car and taking a bait. What can you feel? What can you feel? Hmm? මොනවා එකක්ද ඔයගලන්ට feel වෙන්නේ? Circular motion එක යනකොට wait a minute පුතේ. It's okay. It's okay පුතේ, but normally uh, 5 has a value, no? Normally 5 squared can be taken as 10. And so if you take 5 as 3, then 5 squared will be 9, no? 5 squared will be 9. Therefore, normally, if you have 5 squared, then you can take it as 10 because it is almost 10. Yeah. Because so if it is a MCQ question, Pute, if it is a MCQ question, then you can guess the answer because in such questions, you might be given the value of 5. Value of 5 means sometimes you can take it as 3 or you can take 5 squared as 10. Question එක අනුව එක දෙනවා ගොඩක් වෙලාවට 5 ගොඩක් වෙලාවට දාලා එහෙම simplify කරන්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඕගොල්ලන්ට අර time එක පොඩ්ඩක් තියෙන එක නිසා එහෙම වුණොත් ගොඩක් වෙලාවට දෙනවා. හරි. Okay. Suppose now you are in a vehicle. You are in a vehicle and taking a bin. So if you are taking a bin, what can you feel? What can you feel? vehicle එකකින් ඉඳන් බෙන්ඩ් එක ගන්නකොට මොකද්ද feel වෙන්නේ? කිසිම feeling එකක් එන්නේ නැද්ද? මොකද වෙන්නේ? Suppose now you are in a bus. You are in a bus. Then now it is taking a bin. Okay, what can you feel? You can feel you are moving towards the outward direction of the circle, no? Circle එකකින් එළියට යනවා වගේ වාට දැනනවා නේද? නැද්ද? දැනනවා නේද? මොකක් හරි vehicle එක වේගෙන් ගන්න බෙන්ඩ් එක. බෙන්ඩ් එක ගන්නකොට vehicle එක බෙන්ඩ් එකෙන් එළියට යනවා වගේ feel එක නැද්ද?
Yes, sir.
අනිත් කට්ටිය කෙලින් පාරවල ඉන්නවා කියලා. හරි. Okay. Actually, not only this. Suppose you are riding merry-go-round. And then you are riding a merry-go-round. You can feel that feeling in that case too. Okay. So when you are taking a bend, you can feel you are moving towards the outward direction of the circle. And that means definitely there should be a force into that direction, no? Otherwise, how can you feel? How can you feel? ඒ කියන්නේ ඔයාට අනිවාර්යෙන් එතන force එකක් තිබුණ නැත්නම් ඒ feeling එකක් කොහොමද එන්නේ? How can you feel? Otherwise. So when you are taking, suppose now this is a circular path. So when you are taking a bend means when you are moving a circular path. If you, in this object, you can feel a force towards the outward direction of the circle. Towards the outward direction of the circle. You can feel there's a force to the outward direction of the circle. Is that clear? ඒක ෆීල් වෙලා තියෙනවා තුස්ස. ෆීල් වෙලා තියෙනවා තුස්ස. Very good. But remember this one. To feel that feeling means to feel that force. To feel that force, definitely you should be in that object. That object means the object which is moving in a circle. You should be there. Otherwise, you cannot feel that force. Otherwise, you cannot feel that force. Therefore, it is very clear. Frame to frame, forces might be changed. Forces might be changed. Actually, we have discussed that thing. Therefore, no need to write the note again. But I will explain that thing. Okay. Suppose, again, the same example. Now there's a train. And there's a simple pendulum. There's a pendulum like this. Now this object is moving at acceleration into rightward direction. There's a man, observer, inside the train, as well as there's another observer outside the train. Now, when this train moves towards the right-hand direction, what will happen to this pendulum? Definitely, it will incline towards the backward direction. Therefore, if I mark the forces exerted from this one, here mg here put then tension force is here. Tension force means that is the force exerted of this object. Then බලන්න මේ observers දෙන්න කොහොමද මේ motion එක explain කරන්නේ බලන්න පුතේ. Now suppose this observer B cannot see anything in outside direction. Therefore he do not know, he doesn't know whether the train is moving or not. Train එක ගමන් කරනවා නැතිද දන්නේ නැහැ කියලා හිතන්න. මේ හරියට අපි මේ මොකද්ද මේ earth එක උඩ ඉන්නවා වගේ. අතරම පුතේ මේ earth එක මොකද වෙන්නේ? එයා move වෙනවනේ. Earth is moving, but we cannot feel that thing. ඒක අපිට feel වුණා නම් මාර ආතල්ලයක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ කියන්නේ එහෙම feel වෙන්නේ නැහැ. මොකද මේක rotate වෙවි මේ පැත්ත rotate වී පුතේ හතර පැත්තට කරකිනවා. එහෙනම් ඉතින් අපි අර blender එක ඇතුලේ ඉන්නා වගේ හිතන අපිට feel වුණා. නේ? හොඳ වෙලාවකට feel වෙන්න. මේකත් එහෙම වෙලා හිටින්නේ. මේ observer he cannot feel anything. He cannot feel whether this train is moving or not. Now, it is something like this. Now, suppose now there's a pendulum. Hanging in your ceiling. Then ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ ceiling එකේ pendulum එකක් කියලා තිබ්බා කියලා. Now you can see this pendulum is inclined towards the backward direction. Now this pendulum is hanging through your ceiling. You can see that pendulum is inclined into a certain direction. How can you describe that motion? දැන් ඔයාලා දැන් හිතන්න දැන් වෙන ට්‍රේන් එකක් ගැන හිතන්න එපා. දැන් ඔයාලා ගෙදර ඉන්නවා. ගෙදර ඉන්නකොට ඕගොල්ලන්ගේ ඇඳ ගාව තියෙන net එක ගන්න. ඔය net එක එහාට වෙලා තියෙනවා විදියට. මොකද හිතේ? මොකද හිතේ? කොහොමද ඒකේ එක්ස්ප්ලেইন කරන්නේ? කිසිම මොෂන් එකක් පේන්නේ නැහැ. හැබැයි නෙට් එක වෙන්නේ ඉන්ක්ලයින් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. කොහොමද හිතන්නේ? නෑ හොල්මන තාම බලන් ඉන්නේ. එතකොට ඉතින් හොල්මනක් එන්න බෑනේ. බලන් ඉන්න එක තමයි හොල්මන. මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ එතකොට? ඇත්තටම ඉතින් ඒක අපිට ඩිස්ක්‍රයිබ් කරන්න බෑනේ. හොල්මන් වගේ තමයි. ඩිස්ක්‍රයිබ් කරන්න බෑ. අපි මොකද්ද සිංහල මීඩියම් වලදී අපි කතා කරනවා මොකද භූතාර්ථකයට. භූතාර්ථකයට. එතකොට එහෙම අපි කතා කරන්නේ. ඒ වචන තමයි අපි වෙස්ටර්න් terms වල නැහැ. හරි. But we cannot explain that motion. No, we cannot explain that motion. How to explain that motion? Definitely, to incline this object, definitely there should be a force into that direction. Therefore, this man can see this object, but this object is inclined. Therefore, how to explain that motion? Definitely, there should be a force into this direction with respect to this man. Otherwise, he cannot say anything. Neither. With respect to this man, this object is in equilibrium condition. හරියට මේ මගේ සීලින් එකේ ඔබ්ජෙක්ට් එකක් එල්ලුවා වගේනේ. සීලින් එකේ ඔබ්ජෙක්ට් එකක් එල්ලුවා නම් එයා ඉන්නේ equilibrium condition එකේ. Equilibrium condition එකේ නම් එයාගේ forces ටික මොකද වෙන්න ඕන? The forces should be balanced. Therefore, with respect to this man, these forces should be balanced. To balance this force, definitely there should be a force into this direction. There should be a force into this direction with respect to this man. Therefore, if you observe a force system in a different frame, you will have different type of forces with it. You will have different type of forces. That depends on the frame. And මෙයා ඉන්නේ moving frame එක. එතකොට මෙයාට දැනෙන forces ටික වෙනස්. හැබැයි මෙයාට ඒක එහෙම නෙවෙයි. He can see this person A. Person A can see this entire train has an acceleration towards this direction. Therefore, according to this observer, definitely there should be an external unbalanced force into this direction. That external unbalanced force will be supplied by this tension force, because you know there is a resolve component of this tension force into this direction. That resolve component will be supplied that required force. Therefore, according to A, the forces exerted on this object like this. There's a tension force into this direction. There's a weight here. So according to A, this object is in unbalanced condition because this object has an acceleration. The entire system has an acceleration toward this direction. Therefore, this object should have an unbalanced force. Therefore, with respect to A, there are only two forces. That is tension force and energy. Nothing. If you got that one, please raise the hand. With respect to it, there are only two forces. But with respect to B, this mass is in equilibrium condition with respect to B, the mass is in equilibrium condition. Therefore, the forces with respect to B, the forces with respect to B, something like this. Here there's a tension force. Here there's energy. Definitely there should be another force into this direction. මේ පැත්තට force එකක් තියෙන්න ඕනේ, otherwise he cannot actually, otherwise this object cannot pull into that direction. How can it happen? Definitely there should be a force. That force should be equal to T sine theta. When if it is T theta, then this is theta. Therefore, F should be equal T sine theta. F should be equal to T sine theta, and mg should be equal to T cos theta. Because it is in equilibrium condition. Because it is in equilibrium condition. But with respect to A, the object has an acceleration. The object acceleration. Therefore, forces are unbalanced with it. Forces are unbalanced. Is that clear? තේරෙනවා තුෂාර මම forces mark කරගෙන තේරෙනවා තුෂාර. හරි. ටක් ගාලා මේක අඳගන්න. මම මේක නෝට් එකක් දෙන්නම් මම කලින් දීලා තියෙන නිසා ටක් ගාලා මේක අඳගන්න මම මේක ඊට පස්සේ සෙට් වෙස්න එකක් දෙන්න. මේකට එනවා. circular motion එක. Okay. Then write topic. Centrifugal force. Centrifugal force. Centrifugal force. Centrifugal force. Okay, look at this one. Now, this is a suppose now there's a is like this. Now this rotating about this axis, and there is a small mass attached to the system. That mass also rotate with the same angular speed. Rotate කරනවා කියලා කියන්නේ මේකත් එක්කම තමයි සෙට් එකම එකපාර rotate කරන්නේ. ඒකට වෙන වෙනම නෙමෙයි. Now there's a man. මේ කියලා ගන්න. Now you know this object. Sorry, now you know this man can see this entire system is in a rotation. Therefore, with respect to B, definitely there should be a tension force. Actually there's a tension force. Then tension force at the tension force. Therefore, with respect to B, definitely this simple M mass has a circular motion. To have a circular motion, definitely there should be a centripetal force. That centripetal force will be provided by this tension. Therefore, with respect to B, there is only, actually there is if it is horizontal forces only, there is only one horizontal force. That is T. Therefore, with respect to B, there is only one horizontal force, that is T. Is that clear? Other than this tension force, there's a reaction force as well as Mg. So those are the forces with respect to this man. With respect to this man, R is equal mg because there is no vertical motion. With respect to the. Is that clear? If it is clear, please raise the hand. Beta respect. Actually, mark kar bhi tera na tusa. Because with respect to B, there is a circular motion. To have a circular motion, definitely there should be a centripetal force. That means there should be an unbalanced force put in. That centripetal force should be provided by this tension force. Okay. Now, this is the most interesting part today. Suppose A has no any evidence of rotation. හරියට අපි මේක earth එකේ ඉන්නවා කියලා හිතන්න. දැන් අපිට තේරෙනවා පුතේ අපි rotate කරනවා කියන්නේ. තේරෙනවද? ඇත්තටම අපි මේක rotate වෙනවානේ. හැබැයි අපිට තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ. Suppose now this is a similar case. Although there is a rotation, now A is on that object, putte. A is on that object. And if there's no any surrounding, then A cannot feel whether he's rotating or not. අපිට ඇත්තටම rotate වෙනවා කියලා තේරෙන්නේ කොහොමද? අපි මෙලිග්‍රවුන්ඩ් එකේ ගියොත් අපිට rotate වෙනවා කියලා තේරෙනවනේ පුතේ. ඇයි ඒ? අපි වටපිට බලනකොට වටේ පිටේම කැරගෙනවා. හරි? ඒක නිසා තමයි අපිට තේරෙන්නේ ඒක rotate වෙනවා. අපිට දැන් මේ earth එකේ ඉන්නකොට අපිට තේරෙන්නේ නැත්තේ අපි එහෙම කැරගෙනවා කියලා තේරෙන්නේ. හරි? මොකද වටේ පිටේ නෑනේ. වටේ පිටේ බලනවා නම් අපි බලන්න ඕනේ ස්පේස් එක. ස්පේස් එකත් එක්ක බලනකොට ඒකේ තියෙන දුරත් එක්ක බලනකොට අපි එහෙම වටයක් කරගෙන ඉන්න කාලයක් යනවා. ඉතින් ඒකත් එක්ක අපිට එහෙම තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ. හරි? ඒ නිසා තමයි අපිට ඒක ෆීල් වෙන්නේ නැත්තේ. Suppose now A does not feel whether there's a rotation or not because there's no any surrounding එකක් නැහැ කියලා හිතන්න. එතකොට එයාට ෆීල් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. හරි. So but there's a rotation, but as there's no any surrounding, A cannot feel whether it is rotating or not. And now, according to A, this object should have an equilibrium condition. Because according to A, this object has no motion. As this object has no motion, definitely this object should have a equilibrium condition. But A can see there's a tension force. This string, the string is tension, putte. Therefore, according to A can feel there's a tension force. But he cannot see any motion. ඒට පේනවා මේ ස්ක්‍රීන් එක ටෙන්ෂන් වෙලා කියලා පුතේ. ඒට පේනවා ස්ක්‍රීන් එක ටෙන්ෂන් වෙලා කියලා. හැබැයි ඒට පේන්නේ නැහැ motion එක. Then how can he describe this motion? According to A, this object has no motion, but he can feel there's a tension force. Therefore, to have an equilibrium condition, definitely, no, this is the distributed. So according to A පුතේ ඇත්තම A තේරෙනවා මෙතන tension force එකක් තියෙනවා කියලා. මෙතන R එකයි M එකක් තියෙනවා ඒක කොහොමද equal වෙන්නේ නම්. Now according to A, there is no motion in this object. Therefore, this tension force should be balanced with it. Therefore, definitely there should be a force into the other side, into the other side. Therefore, not only that, this force should be equal to the tension force. This force should be equal to the tension force. Otherwise, this object cannot be in an equilibrium condition. Is that clear? Is that clear? ඒක තේරුණා නම් පුස්තක. ඒක පැහැදිලි නම් පුස්තක. According to A, there should be a force. Pute, this force is called the centrifugal force. Centrifugal force. Therefore, centrifugal force is a force that can be experienced in a rotating object. We cannot experience centrifugal force if we are in an initial frame. If we are in an initial frame, we cannot experience this force. This force can be experienced only if we in a object which is in the rotational motion or circular motion. And circular motion එකේ in object එකට විතරයි centrifugal force එක experience වෙන්නේ. හරිද? හැබැයි interesting part එක මොකද්ද? මේ centrifugal force එකයි අපි දන්නා T කියලා කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? Centripetal force එක. Centrifugal force එකයි මොකද වෙන්නේ? මේ දෙන්න magnitude එකෙන් equal වෙනවා. හරිද? But remember, we cannot mark centrifugal force when you are applying F equal ma. Right? F equal ma is valid only for inertial frames. F equal ma is valid only for inertial frames. Therefore, when you apply F equal ma, you have to apply with respect to the inertial frame. With respect to initial frame, there is no any centrifugal force put in. Therefore, with respect to initial frame, there's no any initial frame. There's no any centrifugal force. So we cannot have that force when we apply F equal ma. And otherwise, how can we apply F equal ma? F clear. And therefore, when we apply F equal ma, this force is not there because F equal ma is valid only inertial frame. Inertial frames, there's no centrifugal force. But in non-inertial frames means frames having an acceleration, especially frames which are moving in a circular motion. So if we are in such a frame, then we can feel centrifugal force, and that centrifugal force is equal to centripetal force. But that is valid only if we are in an object which is in a circular motion. Circular motion එකේ යන object එකේ ඊට විතරයි මේක අපිට feel වෙන්නේ. Centripetal force. With respect to A. මේක දාගන්න. Okay. Have finish. Have finish. Right back. Okay. They write on this, okay? They write on this. With respect to B, with respect to B, simple M has a circular motion. Simple M has a circular motion. Therefore, there should be a centripetal force. There should be a centripetal force towards the center. There should be a centripetal force towards the center. It will be provided by the tension force of the string. It will be provided by the tension force of the string. Okay, I will repeat it again. I will repeat the sentence. With respect to B, simple M has a circular motion. Simple M has a circular motion. Therefore, there should be a centripetal force towards the center. Therefore, there should be a centripetal force towards the center. Come on, towards the center. It will be provided by the tension force of the string. It will be provided by the tension force of the string. And they write in another para. With respect to A, with respect to capital A, with respect to A, simple M has no motion. M has no motion. Therefore, it should be in an equilibrium condition. Therefore, it should be in an equilibrium condition. Therefore, it should be in an equilibrium condition. But simple, sorry, but A, capital A can see, but A can see But A can see the stretch is string. The stretch is string. Therefore, there's a tension force. There's a tension force. But with respect to A, with respect to A, but with respect to A, come on. The forces should be balanced. The forces should be balanced. Therefore, there should be another force. There should be another force. Therefore, there should be another force which is equal in magnitude and opposite in direction with T. There should be another force which is equal in magnitude, opposite in direction with T. That force is called the centrifugal force. That force is called the centrifugal force. Underline that word. Underline the sentence. That force is called the centrifugal force. Therefore, centrifugal force is a force. Therefore, centrifugal force is a force which can be experienced, which can be experienced which can be experienced only in a frame, only in a frame which can be experienced only in a frame which is in a circular motion, which is in a circular motion. Okay. Do you have any questions regarding circular motion? Do you have any questions regarding circular motion? Here now. Here now. Excellent. Okay. Now I will send the EQR of circular motion. Now it is 5 o'clock today. There are only 19 questions. 19 questions means you can do them within 40 minutes. 40 minutes ඉවර කරන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට 5:40 වෙනකොට ඉවර කරන්න. 5:45 දාන්න. 5:45 වෙනකොට ඉවර කරන්න. ඊට පස්සේ 6:30 අපි පටන් ගන්නවා heat lesson එක. 5:45 වෙනකොට ඉවර කරලා මට answer sheets ටික ගවන්න. හැමෝම මට answer sheets ටික ගවන්න. ඊට පස්සේ break එක අරගෙන. break එක අරගෙන 6:30 අපි පටන් ගන්නවා heat lesson එක. ඔයගොල්ලන්ට අලුත් පොතක් අරන් ඉන්න ඒක වෙනම lesson එකක්. අලුත් පොතක් අරන් ඉන්න heat lesson එකට 6:30 ට පටන් ගන්නවා heat lesson එක 10:30 වෙනකන් තියෙනවා. කාලෙ දිලේ. හරි. Okay. Now I will send the EQR of circular motion. Circular motion එක equal කරනවා කරන්න. Okay. This is start. හරි මම මෙතනින් මේ session එක end කරන්න පුතේ because heat lesson means another lesson no therefore I will send another link you have to join with that link at 6:30 okay. Okay පුතේ. අත් start කරන්න එනවා මෙතනින් මේක end කරනවා